Maybe it was a figment of his imagination, but Hua Chang's shoulders seemed to have stiffened for a flash of a second. The moment didn't last, and Hua Chang casually responded, "I did say that the next time we met, I would greet you with my real appearance." Xianle grinned. He patted his shoulder and said earnestly, "Not bad." Xianle's tone wasn't teasing, not consoling, and very simply said. Hua Chang smiled back, and this time it was genuinely relaxed. They took a few more steps when Xianle suddenly remembered something important to confirm with Hua Chang. He removed the silver chain from around his neck. "By the way, did you leave this?" Hua Chang glanced at the ring and smiled. "It's for you." "What is it?" Xianle asked. "It's nothing important," Hua Chang said. "Just keep it for fun." Although that's what he said, Xianle knew that this object wasn't something so insignificant. "Then thank you, Sanlang." Seeing that Xianle put the ringed necklace back around his neck, Hua Chang's eyes shimmered brightly. Xianle looked around him. "Back at the gambler's den, you said you were coming to Paradise Manor. I had thought that it was something like a brothel or the red light district. But this looks more like an entertainment hall." Hua Chang raised his brows. "Gurga, what are you saying? I never go to the red light district." Xianle was amazed. "Really?" "Of course," Hua Chang replied. The two approached the black jaded divan and sat down next to each other. Hua Chang continued, "This is nothing but a place I renovate here and there, a residence of sorts. I come and chill here when I'm free. If I'm busy, then I leave it be." "So it's your home," Xianle commented. "Residence," Hua Chang corrected, "not a home." "Is there a difference?" Xianle asked. "Of course," Hua Chang replied. "A home has family. A place where someone lives alone is not a home." Hearing this, Xianle's heart tightened. By that definition, it had been over 800 years since he had a home. Although Hua Chang had no trace of loneliness on his face, Xianle thought that they were perhaps alike. Hua Chang continued, "If it's home, then even a small place like Puchi Shrine would be better than my Paradise Manor by a millionfold." Xianle agreed and smiled. "I didn't realize that Sanlang is this sentimental. But to make comparisons using my Puchi Shrine, you're really pulling my leg here." Hua Chang laughed. "What's there to be embarrassed about? Truth be told, Gurga's Puchi Shrine is small, but it's so much more comfortable than my Paradise Manor. It's more like a home." "Is that so?" Xianle said warmly. "Then if you like it, in the future, come over whenever you want. The doors of Puchi Shrine will always open for you." Hua Chang's face lit up. "Since Gurga says so, then I'll gladly take you up on your offer. Don't think me annoying in the future." "There's no way," Xianle said. "By the way, Sanlang, I want to ask you for a favor, but I don't know if you'd have the time." "What is it?" Hua Chang asked. "This is my territory. You just ask and I'll deliver." After some thought, Xianle said, "Before, when I was dealing with the case at Mount Yujin, I ran into this boy who might have originated from my kingdom." Hua Chang narrowed his eyes, but didn't say a word. Xianle continued, "I didn't handle the matter very well and scared him off. After that, I requested a search without any success. Earlier, when I was running around the back alleys of the ghost city, I thought I had bumped into him. Sanlang, you are the lord of this land. Is there any way you can help me find him? His face is wrapped in bandages, and he only just ran away from the front steps of Paradise Manor. Hua Cheng smiled. All right, I got it. There's no need to worry, Gerger. Just wait. Xianle sighed a breath of relief. Truly, thank you again. This is nothing, Hua Cheng said. But she left Lang Chuncho just like that? Xianle thought to himself, if Lang Chuncho was here, straightforward and obtuse, it would be hard to predict what other nonsense would come out of his mouth, and he'd start who knows what kind of trouble. So it's probably best to meet up later. Xianle replied casually, His Highness Tai Hua caused you trouble earlier at the gambler's den. Sorry about that. That slightly condescending smirk appeared on Hua Cheng's face again. What are you saying? That didn't count as trouble in the slightest bit. The things he broke, Xianle started, and Hua Cheng laughed. For Gerger's sake, I'll clear his account. He can do as he wants, so long as he doesn't show his face in front of me. Xianle was now curious and asked, You don't care if there are heavenly officials frolicking about in your territory? Could Hua Cheng really be that fearless? Hua Cheng smiled. Of course, you wouldn't know about this, but Gerger, all three realms, proclaim the ghost city a hell of corruption, a demonic chaos. But in reality, everyone wants to come to carouse. So many of the heavenly officials pretend not to care and speak ill of this place. But behind everyone's backs, they often come in disguise and conduct unspeakable business. I've seen too much. If they don't stir up trouble, then I don't care, and if they do, then even better, because then I can wipe them out. His Highness Tai Hua isn't trying to cause havoc on purpose. It's just seeing a round of bets of that sort go down. He felt that he had to stop it, and he couldn't hold back, Xianle explained. That's his lack of experience, Hua Cheng said impassively. To choose between letting yourself live longer for 10 years and cutting your enemy's life short by 10 years, to pick the latter, that's the basis of human hatred. He snorted and crossed his arms. That an idiot like Lang Chuncho can ascend. The heavens truly are blind. Xianle rubbed his forehead, feeling a little guilty, thinking, You can't say it like that. After all, someone like me also ascended thrice. After some hesitation, Xianle spoke up again. San Lang, it may be out of line for me to say this, but I still have to say it. That gambler's den is dangerous. Won't it blow up in your face one day? A place that allowed the betting of sons and daughters and people's lives, granting wishes for others to drop dead, was dreadfully sinful. Never mind a little brawl. If one day the bets got out of hand, the heavens wouldn't be able to sit back and keep their eyes shut. Hua Cheng gave him a look. Your Highness, did you ever ask Lang Chuncho why he had to rush into the mess? Xianle was slightly taken aback, not quite understanding the intent of the question. Hua Cheng continued, I bet he must have told you that if he didn't do it, no one else would. He was amazingly on the mark, obviously having seen through Lang Chuncho. You're right, Xianle said. That's exactly what he said. Then I'm the complete opposite, Hua Cheng said. If I don't control a place like this, then someone else would take control of it. I'd rather that person be me. Xianle knew when to step down and nodded. I understand. It seemed, although Hua Cheng was someone sentimental, he also cared for control and power more than Xianle realized. Hua Cheng continued, Nonetheless, thank you, Gerger, for your concern. Just then, Xianle heard a voice that came from the door. A young man said, "My lord, I've brought him." Xianle looked to the front entrance and saw the waning moon officer from before, bowing just beyond the beaded curtain. The one in his arms was none other than the ragged boy in bandages. Huacheng never turned his head. "Bring him in," he said. Thus, the waning moon officer brought the boy inside and gently put him on the ground. Xianle couldn't help but peek at his wrist again to see whether there was really a cursed shackle. But the other curtsied and stood down swiftly after delivering the boy. Since there were more important matters at hand, Xianle bent down near the bandaged boy and instantly soothed him. "Don't be scared," Xianle said. "It was my fault last time. I won't do it again." The boy's eyes were widened in fear and confusion, but after running away so many times, he no longer had the energy to escape again. He peeked at Xianle, then peeked at the lap table on the black jade divan. Xianle followed his line of sight and saw that he was eyeing a plate of luscious fruit on top of the lap table. The boy must have been hiding for too long and had not eaten. Xianle turned to Huacheng, and before he said anything, Huacheng motioned, "Do what you want, no need to ask me." It wasn't time to be polite, so Xianle uttered a thanks and reached for the plate of fruit before giving it to the boy. That boy grabbed the plate from Xianle and started stuffing the fruit into his mouth. It looked like he'd been starved for too many days and was desperately hungry. Even when Xianle was at his worst, starved like a wild dog, he'd never shoved food into himself like this. He didn't know what to say and only chided gently, "Slow down." After a pause, he attempted, "What's your name?" The boy mumbled as he ate, looking as if he was trying to say something, but couldn't do so clearly. He might not have spoken in many years and has forgotten how, Huacheng suggested. Indeed, it did look like this boy didn't speak much, not even to Xiaoying, and had been like this for a long time. Xianle sighed. "We can do this slowly." By then, all the fruit on the plate had been devoured. Seeing that his bandages were soaked with dried blood, covered in black and red spots alike, Xianle said gently, "Your face is wounded. It looks serious. Let me take a look." Hearing those words, fear immediately engulfed the boy's eyes. However, after Xianle's tireless soothing and encouragement, he sat down once more obediently. Xianle came next to him and took out a bottle of medicinal powder from his sleeve, ready to remove the sullied bandages, when Huacheng intercepted. "Let me do it." Xianle shook his head and moved his hand slowly, unraveling the haphazardly wrapped bandages. As he suspected, although the face of the boy was a bloody mess, all the terrifying little human faces were gone. Only large splotches of bright scars remained. The last time they met at Mount Eugen, there were burns covering his face, but not as much blood. This boy must have used a knife to cut away those human faces from his own face and left these scars. Xianle's hands trembled softly as he rubbed the medicine in. Huacheng caught his wrist and said again, "Let me." Xianle shook his head again and gently pulled his hand free, then said in a low voice, "No, let me do this myself." 800 years ago, in the kingdom of Xianle, many who contracted this disease without any other way chose this route of self-mutilation. It was hell on earth. Some would miss their target and cut where they shouldn't and die from blood loss. Some, although successful, in removing the small human faces never healed from those wounds. As Xianle wrapped new bandages around the boy's head, he realized that his features were actually quite proper, his nose straight and refined, his eyes black and clear. He should have been a handsome young man, but now he bore such a terrifying appearance. He was like many others before him. Even if he cut away the distorted human faces, his face would still forever be nightmarish, unable to recover. Xianle finally finished wrapping the new bandages and asked with a shaky voice, "Are you from Xianle?" The boy turned to look at him with his big eyes. Xianle repeated his question several times, but the boy only shook his head. Xianle then asked, "Then where are you from?" The boy answered with difficulty, "Yong'an." The human face disease had only ever erupted within the kingdom of Xianle, yet this boy was from the kingdom of Yong'an. Xianle felt his sight go dark, and he blurted out, "Have you ever met the white-clothed calamity?" The white-clothed calamity, the origin of plagues, the symbol of misfortune. He was the nightmare of the previous generation of gods, before Crimson Rain Sword Flower was born. If it wasn't for Junwu, who personally exterminated him, this nightmare would have probably continued even today. This Supreme always wore snow-white funeral garments, his expansive sleeves fluttering, and he had a cry-smiling mask on his face. This mask was called thus because half of it was smiling and the other half was crying, half joyous and half sad. If he should be seen anywhere, it would mean that place would soon be doomed to ruin and the world would fall into chaos. In the last battle, Xianle was standing on top of the highest tower in the palace of Xianle, his face covered in grime and tears, lost and bemused as he gazed below on his kingdom. Within his blurry vision, there stood a white silhouette among the fields of corpses just outside the fortress walls, his giant white sleeves fluttering, obvious and distinct. Xianle dropped his head to look down at him, and that white apparition also raised his head to look at Xianle and waved at him directly. That cry-smiling mask was the nightmare that Xianle couldn't chase away, even after hundreds of years.